Have you ever given everything to someone you love, only to discover they saw you as nothing more than free help? That's what happened to me. 5 years. 5 whole years of my life. I spent every single day taking care of my paralyzed husband. I woke up before the sun came up. I went to bed long after he was asleep. I fed him. I bathed him. I dressed him. I learned how to lift his body without hurting him. I learned which medicines to give him, and when. I became a nurse, a therapist, a cook, and a maid all rolled into one person. I thought I was being a good wife. I thought that's what love looked like when things got hard, when life tested you. I believed that standing by your husband through thick and thin was what marriage meant. For better or worse, right? That's what we promised on our wedding day. Then one morning, everything changed. I overheard him talking to someone, and the words that came out of his mouth, they broke something inside me, something I didn't even know could break. He called me a free servant. He laughed about it. He actually laughed. Like it was funny. Like I was funny. That's when I realized I'd been living a lie. I wasn't his wife. I was his employee. An unpaid one. And he didn't even respect me enough to hide it. So I did something I never thought I'd have the courage to do. Something that scared me. Something that changed my entire life. Please stay with me as I share my story. And if you could take just a minute of your precious time to support our channel, it would mean the world to me. Your likes, your comments, your shares, they keep us going. They help us reach other women who might be going through the same thing. Women who feel invisible. Women who need to know they're not alone. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. Back to the day my whole world came crashing down. My name is Jasmine. I'm 30 years old now. Though most days I feel like I'm much older, like I've lived 2 lifetimes already. This story begins on a Tuesday morning in late spring. The kind of morning where everything looks peaceful from the outside. The sun was shining through the kitchen windows. Birds were singing in the backyard. It was the kind of day that should have been beautiful. But it wasn't. Because that was the day I heard the truth. The day everything I thought I knew about my marriage fell apart. Let me back up a little bit and tell you how I got there. How I ended up in that moment. Because my story didn't start on that Tuesday morning. It started 5 years earlier. I met Devin when I was 25 years old. He was older than me, 42. Some people said that was too big of an age gap. But I didn't care. I thought he was wonderful. He was confident. He had his life together. He owned his own home. He had a good job. And he was kind to me. Or at least I thought he was kind. We dated for about a year before he proposed. I said yes without even thinking about it. I was in love. I was happy. I thought I'd found my person. The man I was going to spend the rest of my life with. We got married on a Saturday afternoon in June. It was a small wedding. Just close family and a few friends. Devin's son Trey was there. Trey was 17 at the time. His mother, Devin's first wife, had passed away from cancer a few years before I came into the picture. Devin told me that Trey was still grieving, still adjusting. He said it would take time for Trey to accept me. I understood. Or at least I tried to understand. I knew I couldn't replace his mother. I didn't want to replace her. I just wanted to be part of the family. I wanted to help, to support them both. After the wedding, I moved into Devin's house. It was the house he'd shared with his first wife. The house where Trey grew up. Every room had memories that didn't include me. Pictures on the walls of Devin and his late wife. Her dishes in the kitchen cabinets. Her garden tools still in the shed out back. I asked Devin if maybe we could find a new place. Somewhere fresh. Somewhere that would feel like ours. But he said no. He said Trey needed stability. That it wouldn't be fair to make him leave the only home he'd ever known. So I moved in with just a few suitcases. I brought my books, my coffee table, and some plants. I tried to make the house feel like mine too. I painted the upstairs bathroom a soft yellow color. I planted new flowers in the front garden. I cleaned every corner of that house until it sparkled. But no matter what I did, I always felt like a guest. Like I was living in someone else's space. Trey made sure I knew it too. He never called me by my name. Not once. He'd just say her or she when he talked about me. Like I wasn't even worth using my name. He'd walk past me in the hallway like I was invisible. When I'd cook dinner, he'd barely touch his food. He'd just push it around on his plate, and then leave the table without saying a word. I tried so hard to win him over. I really did. I'd make his favorite meals. I'd ask him about school, about his friends, about what he wanted to do after graduation. But he never answered. He'd just shrug or mumble something I couldn't hear. Then he'd go to his room and close the door. Devin would tell me to be patient. He'd say Trey just needed time, that eventually he'd come around. So I waited. I kept trying. I kept hoping. And then 3 months after our wedding, everything changed. Devin was driving home from a business conference in Atlanta. It was late at night. He was tired. He'd called me from the road to say he'd be home soon, that he couldn't wait to see me, that he loved me. Those were the last normal words we ever spoke to each other. An hour later, my phone rang. It was a hospital. A nurse. She told me Devin had been in a terrible accident. A truck had run a red light and hit his car on the driver's side. He was alive, but barely. I needed to come to the hospital right away. I drove through the night, my hands shaking on the steering wheel, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. I kept praying, please God, please let him be okay. Please don't take him from me. When I got to the hospital, a doctor met me in the waiting room. He had that look on his face, the look doctors have when they're about to tell you something terrible, something that's going to change your whole life. He told me Devin's spine had been crushed in the accident, that he'd never walk again. He was paralyzed from the chest down. He'd have limited movement in his arms. He'd need around-the-clock care for the rest of his life. I sat down in the hard plastic chair and tried to process what he was saying. Paralyzed. Never walk again. Around-the-clock care. Then the doctor said something else. Something that should have been a warning. He said Devin would need a full-time caregiver. Someone trained. Someone who could handle the physical demands. He started talking about nursing homes and professional care facilities. But I didn't hear any of that. All I heard was that my husband needed help. And I was his wife. It was my job to help him. That's what I thought love meant. Being there when things got hard. So I told the doctor no. No nursing home. No facility. Devin was coming home with me. I'd take care of him. I'd learn whatever I needed to learn. The doctor looked at me like I didn't understand what I was signing up for. But I thought I did. I thought I was being strong, being loyal, being a good wife. I had no idea what I was really walking into. Over the next few weeks, I learned everything. How to operate a wheelchair. How to transfer Devin from the bed to the chair and back again without dropping him. How to help him use the bathroom. How to bathe him. How to dress him. How to manage all his medications. There were 12 different pills he had to take every day at different times. I learned how to cook foods that were easy for him to swallow. How to cut everything into tiny pieces. How to spoon feed him when his hands were too weak to hold a fork. I learned how to check his body for pressure sores. How to turn him over in bed every few hours so his skin wouldn't break down. I quit my job at the City Archive Center. I loved that job. I worked with old documents and photographs. I helped people research their family histories. It was quiet work, peaceful work. But Devin needed full-time care, and we couldn't afford to hire a professional nurse. So I became the nurse. I gave up my paycheck, my career, my independence. I gave up going out with friends. I stopped going to the movies or out to dinner. I stopped doing anything that wasn't related to taking care of Devin. My whole life became about him, his needs, his schedule, his comfort. And at first, I thought that was okay. I thought that's what marriage looked like when you were tested. I thought I was doing something noble, something loving. But slowly, something started to change. Devin started to change. Or maybe he didn't change. Maybe I just started to see who he really was. He became quiet, distant. He'd barely talk to me. When he did talk, it was usually to complain. The food was too hot, too cold, too bland. The room was too bright, too dark. I wasn't turning him the right way in bed. I wasn't giving him his medication fast enough. Nothing I did was ever quite right. I told myself it was the depression, the trauma of losing his mobility, of losing his independence. I told myself he'd get better with time, that I just needed to be patient, just needed to keep loving him, keep showing up. But he never got better, and I never got a thank you. Now back to that Tuesday morning. The morning everything fell apart. Devin had a follow-up appointment at the rehabilitation center. He went there twice a week for physical therapy. It was about a 30-minute drive from our house. I'd gotten up extra early that morning to bake his favorite banana muffins. I wanted to surprise him, to make him smile. He hadn't smiled at me in months. I helped him get dressed. I transferred him into his wheelchair. I loaded him into the car. We drove to the center in silence. That was normal by then. We didn't really talk anymore. When we got there, I helped him out of the car and pushed him inside. His therapist met us in the hallway and took him back to the therapy room. I told Devin I'd be right back. I needed to use the restroom and maybe grab a coffee from the vending machine. But when I came back, I heard voices. Devin's voice. And another man's voice. They were sitting in the recovery courtyard. It was a nice outdoor area with benches and flowers. Patients went there to rest after their therapy sessions. I was about to walk out and join them. But then I heard Devin say my name. And something made me stop. Something made me stay hidden behind the column near the door. Jasmine's basically a free caregiver, Devin said. His voice was casual. Almost cheerful. Like he was bragging. I mean, come on. No payroll. No complaining about money. And she's young enough to still do all the heavy lifting. Then he laughed. He actually laughed. I froze. My hand was still holding the bag of warm banana muffins. The muffins I'd woken up early to bake for him. I ain't dumb, Devin continued. I locked in early. Got married at the right time. She does everything. Feeds me. Cleans the house. Handles all the insurance paperwork. That's more than a wife. That's a full package deal. And I'm getting it all for free. The other man said something I couldn't quite hear. Devin laughed again. And when I'm gone, everything goes to Trey anyway. That's my boy. She knows that. Well, maybe she doesn't know it yet. But she'll figure it out eventually. My heart stopped. Everything goes to Trey. Not to me. His wife. The woman who'd given up everything to take care of him. To Trey. His son who couldn't even look at me. Who treated me like I was dirt on the bottom of his shoe. She's reliable, Devin said. Useful. Obedient. That's what you need in a situation like this. Someone who just does what needs to be done without asking too many questions. Obedient. He called me obedient. Like I was a dog. Like I was something he owned. I stood there behind that column for what felt like an hour. But it was probably only a few minutes. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The words kept playing over and over in my head. Free caregiver. Full package deal. Obedient. Finally, my legs started working again. I turned around slowly. Quietly. I walked back down the hallway. I didn't go to the courtyard. I didn't confront him. I just left the bag of muffins on a bench outside the therapy room and walked to the parking lot. I sat in the car for 20 minutes. Maybe longer. Just sitting there. Staring at nothing. Trying to process what I'd just heard. 5 years. 5 years I'd been taking care of this man. 5 years of waking up at dawn. Going to bed exhausted. Giving up my job, my friends, my life. 5 years of believing I was doing something good. Something loving. And this whole time, he saw me as nothing more than free labor. A servant. Something useful. Something obedient. When Devin finally texted me, "Where are you? Ready to go home?" I drove back to the entrance. I helped him into the car. I buckled his seatbelt. I drove us home. I didn't say a word the entire drive. He didn't notice. Or if he did, he didn't care enough to ask. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about every moment of the past 5 years. Every meal I'd cooked. Every pill I'd sorted. Every time I'd lifted him, bathed him, dressed him, encouraged him when he was sad. And all of it had been for nothing. Because to him, I wasn't his wife. I was his free servant. That's when something inside me broke. Or maybe it didn't break. Maybe it woke up. Some part of me that had been asleep for 5 years finally opened its eyes. And I knew I couldn't keep living like this. I couldn't keep disappearing into his needs. I couldn't keep being invisible. I didn't know what I was going to do yet. I didn't have a plan. But I knew something had to change. Because I deserved better than this. I deserved to be seen. To be valued. To be more than someone's free servant. That Tuesday morning changed everything. It was the beginning of the end. But it was also the beginning of something new. Something I never thought I'd have the courage to do. It was the beginning of me finally choosing myself. The next morning, I woke up feeling different. Not better exactly. Just different. Like something fundamental had shifted inside me during the night. I went through my usual routine. Got up at 5:30. Made coffee. Started breakfast. But my hands moved slower than usual. My mind was somewhere else. Devin was still asleep when I went into the bedroom. He looked so peaceful lying there. So innocent. It was hard to believe that just yesterday he'd been laughing about using me. About getting me for free. I stood in the doorway for a long time, just watching him sleep. And I thought about all the mornings I'd done this same thing. Stood there looking at him, feeling grateful that he was still alive. Feeling lucky that I got to be his wife. But now I just felt tired. So incredibly tired. I helped him get dressed when he woke up. Fed him breakfast. Gave him his medications. All without saying much. He didn't seem to notice anything was wrong. Or maybe he just didn't care. After breakfast, he wanted to watch television. So I set him up in the living room with the remote and his favorite blanket. Then I told him I needed to go grocery shopping. He just nodded and turned his attention to the screen. But I didn't go to the grocery store. Instead, I went to the study. The small room at the back of the house where we kept all our important papers. Bank statements. Medical bills. Insurance documents. All of it was organized in folders. I'd been the one to organize it, of course. I handled all the paperwork. All the bills. All the phone calls with insurance companies and doctors' offices. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. I just knew I needed to understand our situation better. Needed to see exactly where I stood. What I had. What I didn't have. I started going through the folders one by one. Bank statements showed that all our accounts were in Devin's name. The checking account. The savings account. Even though I'd contributed money early in our marriage, my name wasn't on anything anymore. Then I found the folder marked insurance and legal documents. Inside were copies of Devin's health insurance, his disability paperwork, and his life insurance policy. I'd seen the life insurance policy before, years ago, right after the accident. But I'd never really looked at it closely, never paid attention to the details. Now I looked, really looked. The beneficiaries were listed clearly. Primary beneficiary number 1, Trey Martin. Primary beneficiary number 2, Alexis B. Martin. Alexis was Devin's first wife, the one who died of cancer. Somehow, her name was still listed on the policy. And my name? My name wasn't anywhere on that document. I read it again. And again. Thinking maybe I'd missed something. Maybe my name was there somewhere, and I just hadn't seen it. But it wasn't. 5 years of marriage. 5 years of caring for him 24 hours a day. And I wasn't even worth being listed as a beneficiary on his life insurance. I sat down on the floor, still holding the paper. My hands were shaking. My throat felt tight. I wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. I was too shocked. Too hurt. Too angry. This wasn't an oversight. This was intentional. Devin knew exactly what he was doing. He'd made sure that when he died, everything would go to Trey. His son who couldn't even be bothered to visit us more than once a month. His son who treated me like I was invisible. I'd been erased. Written out of my own marriage. I put the paper back in the folder. Put the folder back in the filing cabinet. Then I went upstairs to the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. This house that I'd been living in for 5 years. I'd never really thought about whose house it was. I just assumed it was ours. Mine and Devin's. Because we were married. Because that's how marriage works, right? But now I realize the truth. This wasn't my house. It never had been. The house belonged to Devin. It was in his name. He'd bought it with his first wife. They'd raised Trey here. They'd made memories here. And when she died, Devin had inherited it all. When I moved in after our wedding, I thought I was moving into our home. But really, I was just moving into his space. I was a guest. A tenant. Someone who could be removed at any time. I thought about all the work I'd done on this house. How I'd painted walls. Fixed broken tiles. Planted gardens. I'd spent hours making this place beautiful. Making it comfortable. But none of it was mine. The furniture wasn't mine. The dishes weren't mine. The bed I slept in every night wasn't mine. Even the chair I was sitting on right now, it had belonged to his first wife. I'd been living in a ghost house, caring for a man who saw me as free labor. And somehow, I'd convinced myself this was love. Over the next few days, I started noticing other things I'd been blind to before. Small things. Painful things. Like how Trey would come over and act like he owned the place. Because technically he did. Or he would eventually. He'd walk in without knocking. Go straight to the refrigerator. Take whatever he wanted. Leave his dirty dishes in the sink for me to clean. One afternoon he came by while Devin was napping. I was in the kitchen making dinner. Trey walked in, grabbed a soda from the fridge, and leaned against the counter. "You know, Dad's been talking to his lawyer," he said casually. Just dropped it into conversation like it was nothing. I stopped chopping vegetables and looked at him. "His lawyer? Why?" Trey shrugged. "Just making sure everything's in order. You know, making sure the will is updated. Making sure I'm taken care of when he's gone." The way he said it. Making sure I'm taken care of. Not we. Not the family. Just him. "I told Dad he should have done it sooner," Trey continued. "No point leaving things messy. Better to have everything clear. Everything documented. You know what I mean." I knew exactly what he meant. He was making sure I understood that I had no claim to anything. That when Devin died, I'd get nothing. "This house has been in our family for almost 20 years, Trey said. "Dad and my mom bought it together. Fixed it up together. It's got sentimental value." Family value. Our family. Not mine. I turned back to the cutting board and kept chopping. My hands were steady, but inside I was shaking. Trey finished his soda, tossed the can in the general direction of the recycling bin, and walked out. He didn't say goodbye. He never did. That night, after Devin was asleep, I went back to the study. I pulled out a notebook and started making a list. I needed to understand my situation clearly. Needed to see what I had and what I didn't have. What I had. Nothing. The checking account was in Devin's name. The savings account was in Devin's name. The house was in Devin's name. The car was in Devin's name. Even the furniture, the dishes, the towels, none of it was mine. I'd bought a few small things over the years. Some books. Some plants. A coffee table. But that was it. What I didn't have, a job. An income. Savings of my own. A place to live. A car. A plan. I'd given up everything 5 years ago. And now I had nothing to show for it. I thought about the money I'd contributed early in our marriage. I'd used my savings to pay off Devin's credit cards when he was between jobs. I'd paid for Trey's college tuition for 1 semester. I'd bought groceries, paid utility bills, covered expenses when Devin was short on cash. But there was no record of any of that. No receipts I'd saved. No documentation. It had just been me trying to help. Me trying to be a good partner. And now it was like none of it had ever happened. I closed the notebook and sat in the dark study for a long time. The house was quiet. I could hear the clock ticking in the hallway, the refrigerator humming in the kitchen, the sound of Devin snoring upstairs. This house felt so empty. Even though I'd been living here for 5 years, it had never felt like home. I'd always felt like an outsider. Like I was waiting for someone to tell me I belonged here. To tell me I was family. But that never happened. And now I knew it never would. Because I wasn't family. I was hired help. And I wasn't even getting paid. I thought about my life before Devin. Before the accident. I'd been working at the City Archive Center. I'd had my own apartment. Small but cozy. I'd had friends. Hobbies. I'd go to the farmer's market on Saturday mornings. Take long walks in the park. Read books in coffee shops. I'd been happy. Or at least, I'd been myself. Now I didn't even know who I was anymore. I'd become so wrapped up in taking care of Devin that I'd lost Jasmine somewhere along the way. The next morning, I made a decision. I needed to talk to someone. Someone I trusted. Someone who'd known me before all this. Someone who could help me see clearly. I needed to call my friend Nia. Nia and I had been best friends since high school. We'd done everything together back then. She was the kind of person who told you the truth even when it hurt. Even when you didn't want to hear it. After I married Devin and became his caregiver, I'd slowly drifted away from her. I was always too tired to meet up. Too busy. Too consumed by my responsibilities. But Nia had never stopped reaching out. She'd call every few weeks just to check in. Just to let me know she was there. I picked up my phone and stared at her number for a long time. My thumb hovered over the call button. I was scared. Scared of what she might say. Scared of admitting out loud that my marriage was falling apart. That I'd made a mistake. But I was more scared of staying where I was. Of spending the rest of my life being invisible. So I pressed call. She answered on the second ring. Jasmine? Is everything okay? Just hearing her voice made something crack inside me. Nia, I said quietly. I need help. Can I come see you? There was no hesitation. Of course. When? Now. Come right now, she said. I'll be waiting. I hung up. Grabbed my purse and keys. Walked past the living room where Devin was watching television. He didn't look up. Didn't ask where I was going. He was used to me running errands. Used to me disappearing for a few hours to handle whatever needed handling. But this time was different. This time, I wasn't running an errand. I was running away. At least for a little while. As I drove to Nia's shop, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. Like I could finally breathe. Like someone had lifted a weight off my chest. I didn't know what Nia would say. I didn't know what I was going to do next. But I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't keep living in that house. In that marriage. In that life that wasn't really mine. It was time to find my way back to myself. Time to remember who Jasmine was before she became nothing more than someone's free servant. Nia's flower shop was in the historic district of Durham, on a quiet street lined with brick buildings and old oak trees. I'd always loved this part of town. It felt peaceful. Safe. Like a place where time moved a little slower. When I pulled up, Nia was standing in the doorway waiting for me. She must have been watching for my car. She was wearing her work apron, covered in smudges of dirt and flower petals. Her face lit up when she saw me, but then her smile faded. She could tell something was wrong. Come here, she said, pulling me into a hug before I'd even made it through the door. I didn't cry. I thought I would, but I didn't. I just stood there in her arms, feeling safe for the first time in what felt like forever. She led me through the shop to the back patio. It was a small outdoor space, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet, surrounded by hanging plants and potted flowers. There was a little wooden table and 2 chairs. A place where she'd take her breaks and have lunch. Sit, she said gently. I'm going to make you some tea. I sat down and looked around. The patio was beautiful. Everywhere I looked, there were flowers. Bright yellow sunflowers. Deep red roses. Purple lavender. And these gorgeous white flowers I couldn't name. Those are gardenias, Nia said, following my gaze. They bloom best when you give them space to breathe. When you don't crowd them. She set a glass of cold ginger mint tea in front of me and sat down across the table. Now, she said, tell me everything. And I did. I told her about overhearing Devin at the rehabilitation center. About him calling me a free caregiver. About him laughing. About finding the life insurance policy with my name nowhere on it. About realizing that nothing in that house was mine. That I'd given up 5 years of my life for a man who saw me as nothing more than useful. Nia listened without interrupting. She didn't gasp or shake her head or tell me I was overreacting. She just listened. Really listened. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she leaned forward and looked me straight in the eyes. "Jasmine," she said. "You weren't in a marriage. You were managing a patient. And worse, you were doing it for free while being treated like you didn't matter." Those words hit me hard. Because they were true. Completely true. "I thought love meant sacrifice," I said quietly. "I thought staying was the right thing to do." "Love is partnership," Nia said firmly. "Both people give. Both people receive. Both people respect each other. What you've been doing, that's not partnership. That's one person taking everything while the other person disappears." I felt tears building up finally. I don't know what to do. I don't have a job. I don't have money. I don't even have a place to stay that's actually mine. "You do now," Nia said immediately. "I have a guest room upstairs. It's small, but it's yours for as long as you need it." I looked at her shocked. "I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering." She reached across the table and took my hand. "And tomorrow we're going to see a lawyer. A good one. Someone who can tell you what your rights are. What you're entitled to. Because you deserve so much more than you've been getting." That night I stayed at Nia's. I didn't go back to Devon's house. Not yet. I just needed one night away. One night where I didn't have to be a caregiver. Where I could just be Jasmine. Devon texted me around 7 o'clock. "Where are you?" "Dinner." I texted back. "Staying with a friend tonight. There's leftovers in the fridge. Heat them up." He didn't respond. I waited to feel guilty. Waited for that familiar feeling of anxiety that came whenever I wasn't there to take care of him. But it didn't come. Instead, I felt something else. Something light. Something free. The guest room was small and simple. Just a twin bed, a dresser, and a window that looked out over the street. The walls were painted a soft yellow color, and there were white curtains that moved in the breeze. I lay down on the bed and stared at the ceiling. It was quiet. Peaceful. No one needed me. No one was calling for me. No one expected me to do anything except rest. And for the first time in 5 years, I slept through the entire night without waking up once. The next morning, Nia took me to meet a lawyer named Talia Hartwell. Her office was in a modern building downtown. The waiting room had comfortable chairs and soft music playing. It felt professional. Safe. Talia was a black woman in her early 40s with sharp eyes and a warm smile. She wore a simple black suit, and her hair was pulled back in a neat bun. She shook my hand firmly and invited me into her office. "Tell me your story," she said. "Start from the beginning." So I did. I told her everything again. The accident. The caregiving. The years of giving up my job and my life. The conversation I'd overheard. The life insurance policy. The house that was never mine. Talia took notes the whole time. When I finished, she looked up and asked a few direct questions. "Were you working when you got married?" "Yes. I worked at the City Archive Center." "Did you contribute financially to the household?" "Yes. Especially early on. I used my savings to pay off his credit cards. I paid for his son's college tuition one semester. I covered groceries and bills when money was tight." Talia nodded, making more notes. "And after you quit your job to become his full-time caregiver, did you receive any compensation? Any payment for your work?" "No. Nothing." "Did he ever discuss adding your name to the house? To bank accounts? To any assets?" I shook my head. "No. I assumed we'd handle that eventually. But we never did." Talia leaned back in her chair. "North Carolina is an equitable distribution state. That means when a marriage ends, assets are divided fairly, not necessarily equally, but fairly. You contributed to this marriage in multiple ways. Financial contributions, labor contributions. You gave up your career to provide care that would have cost thousands of dollars a month if he'd hired a professional. But I did it because I loved him," I said quietly. "Not because I expected payment." "Love and fairness aren't mutually exclusive," Talia said. "You loved him. You cared for him. But that doesn't mean you should walk away with nothing. Especially when he clearly planned to cut you out of everything." She pulled out a form and started writing. "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to file for legal separation first. Then we're going to request full financial disclosure from your husband. Bank statements, retirement accounts, life insurance policies, everything. If he's been hiding assets or transferring money, we'll find it. Can I really do this? I asked. I mean legally? You're his wife, Talia said. You have rights, and I'm going to make sure you get what you deserve. I left her office feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real genuine hope. Over the next few weeks, I stayed with Nia. I helped her at the flower shop during the day. It was simple work. Arranging bouquets, watering plants, talking to customers. It felt good to do something that wasn't about caring for someone else. Something that was just about creating beauty. Devin kept texting. At first, the messages were polite. When are you coming home? We need to talk. I miss you. Then they got more demanding. You can't just leave me here. I need you. You're my wife. You have responsibilities. What are people going to say? I didn't respond to most of them. When I did respond, I kept it short. I'm staying with a friend. I need space. Then Trey started messaging me too. His messages were different. Angrier. You're being selfish. My dad didn't do anything wrong. You're going to regret this. But I didn't regret it. Not for a second. Nia introduced me to a support group called Second Sunrise. It was for women going through difficult separations or divorces. We met once a week, sometimes in person, sometimes over video chat. The first meeting I attended, I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. But when I walked into the room and saw the other women there, I felt an instant connection. We were all different ages, different backgrounds, but we all had the same story. We'd all given too much. We'd all been taken for granted. We'd all reached a point where we finally chose ourselves. One woman had cared for her disabled partner for 12 years. Another had put her husband through medical school, only to have him leave her the moment he started earning good money. Another was battling a prenup she'd signed without fully understanding what it meant. We shared our stories. We cried together. We laughed together. And for the first time, I didn't feel alone. I didn't feel crazy for leaving. I felt understood. A woman named Grace said something during one meeting that stayed with me. People will try to make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. They'll say you're selfish, that you're abandoning someone who needs you. But here's the truth. You're not responsible for someone else's life at the expense of your own. Those words freed something inside me. Because she was right. I'd spent 5 years putting Devin's needs above my own. 5 years believing that's what love required. But love isn't supposed to erase you. It's supposed to make both people better. Meanwhile, Talia was working on my case. She requested Devin's financial records, and what we found was shocking. 2 months before I left, Devin had transferred $40,000 into Trey's bank account. $40,000. Without telling me. Without my knowledge or consent. When Talia showed me the bank statements, I felt sick. Why would he do that? He was hiding assets, Talia said. He knew if you ever filed for divorce or separation, you'd be entitled to a portion of your marital property. So he moved the money to his son. Tried to hide it where you couldn't touch it. Can he do that? No, Talia said firmly. And the court won't like it one bit. This works in our favor. Devin's lawyer tried to argue that the money was a gift to Trey. That Devin had every right to give money to his son. But Talia pushed back hard. She argued that the timing was suspicious. That Devin had never made such large transfers before. That it was clearly an attempt to deprive me of marital assets. The judge agreed. She ordered the transfer to be reversed pending the final settlement. When I heard the news, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Not triumph. Not revenge. Just a quiet sense of justice. Of things finally being fair. Back at the flower shop, I started writing. Nia had suggested I start a journal to process everything I was feeling. So I bought a simple notebook and started writing every night before bed. At first, I just wrote about the pain, the betrayal, the anger. But slowly, I started writing about other things too. About who I was before Devin. About who I wanted to become. about the life I was going to build for myself. One night, Nia read one of my entries. She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. "Jasmine, other women need to read this. You should turn this into a blog or something. Share your story. Who would want to read about my life?" I asked. "Every woman who's ever felt invisible," Nia said. "Every woman who's given everything and received nothing. Every woman who needs permission to choose herself." So I did. I started a blog called Unkept Vows. My first post was titled From Being Needed to Being Seen. I wrote about my journey, about what it felt like to lose yourself in service, about finding the courage to leave. I didn't expect anyone to read it, but within a week, the post had been shared hundreds of times. Women from all over the country wrote to me. They told me their stories. They thanked me for speaking a truth they'd been too afraid to say out loud. One woman wrote, "You gave me the courage to leave. Thank you for showing me I'm not alone." And that's when I realized something important. My story wasn't just about me. It was about all of us. All the women who'd been erased. All the women who'd been taken for granted. All the women who were finally ready to choose themselves. I was becoming someone new. Not the girl I was before Devon. Not the caregiver I'd been forced to become. Someone stronger. Someone braver. Someone who knew her worth. My name was Jasmine. And I was learning, for the first time in 5 years, what it meant to have a voice again. The court date arrived on a Thursday morning in early October. I'd been preparing for weeks, going over everything with Talia, gathering documents, writing down memories, making sure I had proof of everything I'd contributed to the marriage. The night before, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was nervous exactly, but because I knew this was it. This was the moment where everything would be decided. Where I'd finally find out if all my years of work, all my sacrifice, meant anything in the eyes of the law. I woke up before my alarm went off. It was still dark outside. I got up quietly, trying not to wake Nia, and went downstairs to the kitchen. I made myself a cup of tea and sat at the table, watching the sunrise through the window. Nia came down around 6:30. She didn't say anything at first, just made herself coffee and sat down across from me. Then she reached over and squeezed my hand. "Today's going to be hard," she said, "but you're going to get through it. And no matter what happens, you're already stronger than you were 6 months ago." I nodded. She was right. 6 months ago, I couldn't have imagined doing this. Standing up to Devon. Fighting for myself. Now I couldn't imagine not doing it. I got dressed in the clothes I'd picked out the week before. A simple navy blue dress that hit just below my knees. Low heels. Minimal jewelry. I didn't want to look like I was trying too hard. I just wanted to look like myself. My cousin Sandra picked me up at 8:30. Sandra was my mother's niece, a financial consultant who'd helped me organize all my paperwork. She was sharp, professional, the kind of person who could walk into any room and command respect. "You look good," she said as I climbed into her car. "You look strong." "I don't feel strong," I admitted. "That's okay," she said. "You don't have to feel it. You just have to do it." The courthouse was a large brick building in downtown Durham. We walked up the stone steps together, Sandra on one side and Nia on the other. Talia was waiting for us in the lobby. She looked me over, nodded approvingly and said, "Ready?" "As ready as I'll ever be." We went through security and took the elevator up to the 3rd floor. The courtroom was at the end of a long hallway. As we walked toward it, I saw Devon. He was sitting in his wheelchair near the courtroom doors. Trey was standing next to him, arms crossed, looking angry. When Devon saw me, his face changed. I couldn't quite read his expression. Surprise? Regret? Annoyance? Trey, on the other hand, glared at me openly. Like I was the villain in this story. Like I'd done something terrible by asking for what I deserved. I walked past them without saying a word. I didn't owe them an explanation. I didn't owe them anything. Inside the courtroom, everything felt very formal, very serious. The judge sat at a high desk at the front. There were 2 tables facing her. One for my lawyer, one for Devon's. Rows of benches behind us for anyone who wanted to watch. It was strange. This was my life, my marriage, being discussed in this cold, official space. In front of strangers. The judge called the court to order. She was an older woman with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore reading glasses and had a stern but fair expression. "This is a hearing for equitable distribution in the matter of Martin versus Martin," she said. "We'll hear from both sides. Mrs. Martin's counsel will go first." Talia stood up. She was calm, confident. She'd done this 100 times before. "Your Honor," she began. "This case is about a woman who gave 5 years of her life caring for her husband after a devastating accident left him paralyzed. She quit her job to provide full-time care. She contributed financially to the household early in the marriage. She provided labor that, if compensated professionally, would have cost well over $100,000 a year." She walked the judge through everything. The timeline, the financial contributions, the caregiving duties, the lack of compensation or recognition, the life insurance policy that excluded me, and finally, the $40,000 transfer to Trey. "This transfer occurred just 2 months before Mrs. Martin left the home," Talia said. "The timing is not coincidental. Mr. Martin was attempting to hide marital assets, to deprive his wife of what she was legally entitled to." Devon's lawyer stood up next. He was an older white man with a deep voice and an air of superiority that made my skin crawl. "Your Honor," he said, "Mrs. Martin entered this marriage with full knowledge of Mr. Martin's circumstances. He had a son. He owned a home. When he became disabled, she chose to provide care. That was her choice. She cannot now claim she deserves compensation for what was essentially her duty as a wife." I felt anger rising in my chest. Duty as a wife. Like I was some kind of servant. Like marriage meant I owed Devon my entire life without expecting anything in return. The lawyer continued. "The money transferred to Trey Martin was a gift from father to son. Perfectly legal. Perfectly appropriate. Mrs. Martin has no claim to that money. Furthermore, the house in question was owned by Mr. Martin long before this marriage. She has no legitimate claim to it." Talia stood up to respond. "Your Honor, with respect, marriage is a partnership. When one spouse contributes, whether financially or through labor, they are entitled to a fair share of the marital estate. Mrs. Martin didn't just choose to provide care out of love. She was forced into that role by economic necessity. They couldn't afford professional care. She gave up her income, her career, her independence. That is a contribution, a significant one." The judge listened carefully, taking notes. Then she looked at me. "Mrs. Martin," she said, "I'd like to hear from you directly. Do you believe this marriage was based on mutual care, support, and dignity?" I stood up slowly. My legs felt shaky, but I forced myself to stand tall, to look the judge in the eye. "No, Your Honor," I said. My voice was quiet at first, but it got stronger as I continued. "I thought it was. I believed I was being a good wife, a loving partner, but I was treated like an employee, an unpaid one. I wasn't included in financial decisions. I wasn't valued. My contributions weren't recognized." I paused, gathering my thoughts. When I overheard my husband describe me as a free caregiver who provided a full package deal for $0, I realized the truth. I wasn't his partner. I was his servant. And I deserved better than that. The courtroom was completely silent. Even Trey had stopped shifting in his seat. "I don't regret caring for my husband," I continued. "I don't regret trying to be a good wife. But I do regret allowing myself to disappear in the process. I'm here today because I believe I deserve to be recognized for what I gave. And I deserve a fair chance to rebuild my life." The judge nodded. "Thank you, Mrs. Martin. You may sit down." The hearing continued for another 2 hours. Both lawyers presented more evidence, more arguments. Devon was called to testify. He confirmed the $40,000 transfer, but claimed it was just a gift. That he'd always planned to give Trey money. That the timing was coincidental. Talia tore his story apart. She showed bank records proving he'd never made such large transfers before. She showed emails between Devon and Trey discussing protecting assets and making sure everything is in order. By the time the hearing ended, I could tell the judge had made up her mind. But she didn't rule immediately. She said she'd review everything and issue a written decision within 5 business days. Those 5 days felt like the longest of my life. I went through the motions. Helped Nia at the shop. Wrote in my journal. Met with my support group. But my mind was always on that courtroom. On what the judge would decide. Finally, on a Tuesday afternoon, Talia called. "We won," she said simply. I sat down on Nia's couch, phone pressed to my ear. "What? You won, Jasmine. The judge ruled in your favor. You're getting 35% of the marital assets, including a portion of his retirement fund. Plus $800 a month in spousal support for 18 months. And the judge reversed the transfer to Trey. She called it an obvious attempt to hide assets. I couldn't speak. I just sat there, tears streaming down my face. "Jasmine? Are you okay?" "I'm okay," I whispered. "I'm better than okay." That night, Nia and I celebrated with sparkling cider and takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant. We sat on her back patio under the stars, just the two of us. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Honestly, I don't feel triumphant. I don't feel like I won some big victory. I just feel free." "That's because you did win," Nia said. "Not against Devin. Against the part of yourself that thought you deserved to be invisible." She was right. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about punishing Devin. It was about finally believing I deserved better. About standing up and saying my life, my work, my contributions mattered. Devin never called after the ruling. Never reached out to apologize or to talk. Nothing. It was like I'd never existed. But Trey did reach out. He showed up at the flower shop 3 days after the ruling. He didn't knock. Just walked right in while Nia and I were arranging a wedding order. "You're proud of yourself, aren't you?" he said. His voice was loud. Angry. Taking money from a man who can't even walk. Real classy. I didn't respond. I just kept working on the bouquet in front of me. "My father gave you everything," Trey continued. "A home. A life. And this is how you repay him. By stealing from us." "I didn't steal anything," I said calmly. "I claimed what I was legally entitled to, what I earned through 5 years of work." "You were his wife," Trey shouted. "That was your job." Nia stepped between us. "You need to leave. Now." Trey looked at her, then at me. Then he spat on the floor. Actually spat. Like I was so beneath him I didn't even deserve basic respect. Then he turned and walked out. I stared at the spot on the floor where he'd spit. Then I picked up a broom and swept it out the door. "You okay?" Nia asked. "I'm fine," I said. And I meant it. Because Trey's anger didn't hurt me anymore. His disrespect didn't make me feel small. I knew my worth now. And nothing he said or did could take that away from me. I'd stood up for myself. I'd fought for what I deserved. And I'd won. Not just in court, but in my own heart. And that was the most important victory of all. 6 months after the court ruling, my life looked completely different. I wasn't waking up at 5:30 every morning to care for someone who didn't appreciate me. I wasn't living in a house that never felt like home. I wasn't disappearing into someone else's needs and wants. I was living. Really, truly living. For the first time in years. I'd moved into my own apartment. It was small. Just 1 bedroom with a tiny kitchen, and a living room that barely fit a couch and a coffee table. But it was mine. Every single thing in it belonged to me. I'd picked out the furniture myself. Cheap pieces from secondhand stores and yard sales, but I'd chosen them. I'd arranged them. They were mine. The first night I slept in that apartment, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling and just smiled. There was something incredible about being in a space that was completely my own. Where no one could tell me what to do or how to do it. Where I didn't have to answer to anyone. The spousal support helped me get on my feet. $800 a month wasn't a lot, but combined with the settlement money, it was enough. Enough to pay rent. Enough to buy groceries. Enough to start rebuilding. And I did start rebuilding. Slowly. Carefully. Like I was putting together pieces of myself I'd lost somewhere along the way. I went back to work. Not at the City Archive Center. That job had been filled years ago. But I found freelance editing work through an online platform. Small projects at first. Blog posts, articles, short manuscripts. But gradually I built up a client base. I started earning real money. Not a lot, but enough. And more importantly, it was mine. My work. My income. My name on the invoices. I also kept writing on my blog. Unkept vows had grown beyond anything I'd imagined. What started as a few personal posts about my journey had become something bigger. Women from all over the country were reading my words, sharing their own stories, supporting each other. My subscriber list grew to over 7,000 people. 7,000 women who'd felt invisible, who'd given too much, who were learning, like me, to choose themselves. I started getting messages every day. Women thanking me for putting words to feelings they'd been carrying alone. Women telling me my story had given them the courage to leave their own difficult situations. Women who just needed to know they weren't crazy for feeling the way they felt. One message in particular stayed with me. A woman named Patricia wrote, "I'm 62 years old. I've been caring for my husband for 15 years. I thought it was too late to start over. But reading your story made me realize it's never too late to matter. Thank you for that." I cried when I read that. Because that's exactly what I'd needed to hear 6 months ago. That it wasn't too late. That I still mattered. I started teaching online workshops for other women. Simple classes on writing. On telling your story. On finding your voice. The classes were small. Usually just 10 or 12 women. But they were powerful. We'd meet over video chat once a week. Share our work. Encourage each other. Remind each other that our stories mattered. One woman wrote an essay about caring for her mother while her siblings did nothing. Another wrote about leaving an emotionally abusive marriage after 30 years. Another wrote about rediscovering her dreams after her children grew up and moved away. Every story was different, but the thread was the same. Women who'd been invisible. Women who were learning to be seen. I also stayed involved with Second Sunrise, the support group Nia had introduced me to. I went to meetings every week. Sometimes I was there to receive support. Other times I was there to give it. To tell a woman who was just starting her journey that yes, it gets better. Yes, you can survive this. Yes, you're stronger than you think. A few months after the court ruling, I was invited to speak at a women's conference. It was a small event, maybe 100 people, held at a community center in Raleigh. I was terrified. Public speaking had never been my thing. But Nia convinced me to do it. "Your story needs to be heard," she said. "And you're the only one who can tell it." So I said yes. I wrote a speech, practiced it a dozen times in front of Nia. And when the day came, I stood up on that stage and told my story. I talked about meeting Devin. About the accident. About becoming his caregiver. About slowly disappearing into that role. About overhearing him call me a free servant. About finding the courage to leave. About fighting for what I deserved. And about rebuilding my life from scratch. When I finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then everyone stood up. They applauded. Some women were crying. Others were nodding like they understood every single word I'd said. Afterward, so many women came up to talk to me, to hug me, to tell me their stories. One woman squeezed my hand and whispered, "You gave me permission to leave. I'm filing for divorce next week. Thank you." I hugged her back tightly. "You don't need my permission," I said. "You already had permission. You just needed to believe it." That became my mission, helping other women believe they deserved better. That they were worth more than being invisible. That choosing themselves wasn't selfish. It was survival. My relationship with Nia deepened during this time. She wasn't just my friend anymore. She was my family. The person who'd stood by me when everything fell apart. The person who'd reminded me who I was when I'd forgotten. I helped her at the flower shop regularly. Not because I needed the money, but because I loved it. There was something healing about working with flowers. About creating something beautiful. About watching people's faces light up when they saw the arrangements we'd made. Nia taught me the names of all the flowers. Taught me which ones needed more water, more sunlight, more space. and we'd joke about how flowers were like people. Some bloom early, some bloom late, but all of them need the right conditions to thrive. I was a late bloomer, but I was blooming now, fully, beautifully, in my own time. One afternoon, a customer came in looking for an arrangement for her daughter's college graduation. As I put together the bouquet, I created a mix of yellow roses, white daisies, and purple irises. When I finished, the customer asked what I'd call it. Gratitude bloom. I said without thinking. That's beautiful, she said. What does it mean? It means you can bloom late, I said. But when you do, it's just as beautiful as blooming early. Maybe even more beautiful because you know what it took to get there. The customer smiled. I love that. After she left, Nia looked at me and said, That's you, you know. You're the gratitude bloom. I hadn't thought about it that way, but she was right. I'd bloomed late, but I was blooming, and I was grateful for every single petal. Around this time, I started dating again. Nothing serious at first. Just coffee dates with men I'd met through friends or online. It felt strange at first, being seen as a woman and not just a caregiver. Being asked about my interests, my dreams, my life. One man I went out with asked me what I did for fun, and I realized I didn't have an answer. I'd spent so many years not having fun that I'd forgotten what it even meant. So I started figuring it out. I went to the farmer's market on Saturday mornings, like I used to before Devon. I took long walks in the park. I read books in coffee shops. I went to the movies by myself and didn't feel lonely. I felt free. I even took a creative writing class at the community college. It was something I'd always wanted to do but never had time for. The class met once a week in the evening. We'd sit in a circle and share what we'd written. It was terrifying at first, reading my words out loud, but also exhilarating. My instructor, a kind older woman named Dr. Reeves, pulled me aside after class one night. You have a real voice, she said. Don't waste it. Keep writing. Keep sharing. I took her words to heart. I kept writing, kept sharing, kept telling my story. One evening, I was sitting on my apartment balcony with a cup of tea, watching the sunset. The sky was painted in shades of pink and orange. The air was warm. Somewhere in the distance, I could hear children laughing. And I thought about how far I'd come. 6 months ago, I'd been in Devon's house feeling trapped, feeling invisible, feeling like I'd never escape. Now I was free. I had my own apartment, my own income, my own life. I had friends who supported me, work that fulfilled me, a voice that people listened to. I thought about Devon sometimes, wondered how he was doing. I'd heard through mutual acquaintances that his health had declined, that he'd been in and out of the hospital, that Trey still wasn't helping much, that he was mostly alone now, dependent on hired nurses. Part of me felt sad about that. Not because I wanted to go back and care for him, but because I remembered the man I thought I'd married. The man who'd smiled at me on our wedding day. The man who'd held my hand and promised we'd face life together. But that man had never really existed. Or if he had, he'd disappeared long before I did. I didn't wish him harm. I just wished he'd treated me better. Seen me. Valued me. But wishing couldn't change the past. So I focused on the future instead. On the life I was building. On the woman I was becoming. I'd started dating someone seriously a few months back. His name was Marcus. He was a teacher at a local elementary school. Kind, patient, genuinely interested in hearing about my life. He didn't see me as someone to take care of him. He saw me as an equal, a partner. It felt strange at first, being treated like I mattered. Like my thoughts and feelings were important. But slowly, I got used to it. Slowly, I started to believe that maybe I deserved it. Marcus never pushed me, never asked me to move faster than I was ready for. He just showed up, consistently, reliably, and he made me laugh, really laugh. The kind of laughter that comes from deep in your belly and makes your face hurt. One evening, we were sitting on my balcony together. He'd brought Chinese takeout, and we were eating straight from the containers. Can I ask you something? He said. Sure. Do you ever regret leaving? Even for a moment. I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I said finally. Not even for a moment. Leaving Devon was the hardest thing I've ever done. But staying would have killed me. Not physically, but spiritually. I would have disappeared completely. Marcus nodded. I'm glad you didn't disappear. The world needs more women like you. Women like me? Women who know their worth, he said. Women who aren't afraid to demand better. Women who choose themselves even when it's hard. That night, after Marcus left, I sat on my balcony alone and cried. But they weren't sad tears. They were grateful tears. Relieved tears. Tears of someone who'd survived something terrible and come out the other side stronger. My name is Jasmine. I'm 30 years old. And I'm not a servant. I'm not invisible. I'm not free labor. I'm a woman who walked away when love became survival. I'm a woman who chose herself when no one else would. I'm a woman who learned that healing isn't quiet. It's loud. It's bold. It's powerful. And this isn't the end of my story. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where I'm the main character, not the background. Where my needs matter just as much as anyone else's. Where I'm seen, valued, and loved for who I really am. I still write on my blog. Still teach my workshops. Still help other women find their voices. Because if my story can help even one woman choose herself, then everything I went through was worth it. I'm still learning. Still growing. Still figuring out who Jasmine really is when she's not defined by someone else's needs. But I'm excited about that journey. Excited about what comes next. Because for the first time in my life, I'm living for me. And that's the most beautiful feeling in the world. Thank you so much for staying with me through this entire story. I know it wasn't always easy to hear. Some parts were hard for me to share, to relive. But I wanted you to know the truth. The real story. Not the version people assume when they see a woman caring for her husband. The version where that woman finally decides she matters too. If you're watching this and you see yourself in my story, if you feel invisible, undervalued, taken for granted, please listen to me carefully. You deserve better. You deserve to be seen, to be valued, to be loved, not just used. You deserve a life where you're not just needed, but truly cherished. Leaving is hard. Starting over is terrifying. I know because I lived it. But staying in a place where you don't matter, where you disappear a little more every day, that's even harder. That will break you in ways you can't imagine. You're worth more than that. You always have been. You just need to believe it. And if you can't believe it yet, borrow my belief until yours grows strong enough. Your story matters. Your life matters. You matter. If this story moved you, if it made you think, if it gave you hope or courage, or if it just made you feel less alone, please like this video. Share it with someone who might need to hear it. Someone who's struggling. Someone who feels invisible. Sometimes, all it takes is one story to change everything. Leave a comment and tell me your thoughts. Tell me your story if you feel comfortable. I read every single comment, and your words mean the world to me. Knowing that my story helps even one person makes every difficult moment worth it. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss future stories. We share real stories from real women because we believe in the power of truth. The power of women supporting women. The power of choosing yourself even when the world tells you not to. Remember, healing doesn't whisper. It speaks loudly. It demands to be heard. And your voice deserves to be heard too. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. Take care of yourselves and remember, you're not just surviving. You're blooming. Until next time, keep choosing yourself. Keep believing in your worth. And never, ever let anyone make you feel invisible again. This is Jasmine signing off. Remember to bloom. At Virtuous Stories, we love you.